Hello, and welcome to another beautiful episode of Everyone is a Designer podcast by Femola Carrot. In this episode, we're going to be talking about how to handle rejection as a graphic designer. With me in the studio today, handling this topic is nobody but Robert Smart. Robert Smart is a specialist UI, UX, and web designer based in Cape Town, South Africa. He has over 15 years of experience in bringing brands to life in the digital world and is currently freelancing full-time. Over the past 4 years, he has developed an obsession for growth-driven design. This is design that translates into tangible solutions and real results like user growth, brand affinity, and bottom line, business growth. He has had the privilege of working with hundreds of clients across diverse industries, including biotech, banking, energy and construction, healthcare, hospitality, telecoms, transport, and fintech, not to mention government and non-for-profit. He also recently started a YouTube channel where he shares his experience with the community at large. So why not join us as Robert shares his experience with rejection and how he dealt with it. Let's jump in. All right, everybody, welcome to today's podcast, and we are in another beautiful episode, the fourth episode of the first season of Everyone is a Designer. Season 1, Design is Life. And with me in the studio today is nobody but Robert Smart, all the way from South Africa. So I got to see Robert's article on LinkedIn, and I like what he wrote upon. And we based the topic of this episode on what he wrote. And what's the topic of this episode? It's dealing with rejection as a designer. And I really love the content Robert put out there. So in today's episode, Robert is just going to be telling us how he deals with rejection, or how he deals with rejection, and he's going to be sharing the ways by which every one of us as designers can deal with rejection once we project our solutions to our clients. So, Robert, welcome to the show, welcome to the studio, welcome to this episode. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good, and thanks for having me. It's a great honor to be on your show. A matter of fact, I think it's probably my first podcast so ever. So it's a great honor for me to be on your podcast, man.
Thanks. Thank you very much. All right. So, like we said and established, that the topic of this episode is dealing with rejection as a designer. So, I read your article over LinkedIn, and I just loved the content, and it just dealt with the fact that we have a lot of designers around. I have a lot of designers around. Sometimes, including me, I have to, confess now that sometimes I do not know how to deal with rejection per se. So can you just briefly, jump into what actually made you write this? What actually made you push out this content to the world? Can you just jump on it?
Okay, cool. So I think this happened last year, right? So I was working on a client account, or one of my clients. I was busy doing work for them, and what happened was, I like in my the content that I pushed out, I mentioned that I've been able to deal with rejection, or let's say clients rejecting my work. I've been able to deal with it before that. There were ways I would go about it, but this time I don't know exactly. I'm not sure why it was different this time around, but I really took it badly. I'm not sure about you, but I'm a introverted person, so many times when a client rejects my work, I tend to go into this little bubble, and then it's almost like I'm just for myself, and I know that there are a lot of other designers probably who are introverted people who go to the same thing. They feel that they can't deal with these criticism. They are insecure. They feel insecure. They emotionally broken, if I can put it that way. So I was going through that same thing, and like I said, I'm not sure why it was different. And I got to thinking about it. Why is this different than all the other times that I've gone through it? Because as a junior designer, I can imagine the reason why I pushed out this content was mostly for those young and upcoming designers who are probably going through the same things. I'm not sure if you're familiar what the agency life is like. Everything's on the go. It's very fast. You have to constantly push out new ideas, new projects, and so on. So I was thinking about that, and I was speaking to a friend of mine regarding this topic, and she mentioned something very interesting, right? She said that it's not because of the nature of the work that we as creatives are in. It often amounts to the rejection of our thinking, specifically our problem-solving skills and our critical thinking. And that's precisely why, why I pushed out this content. It's really hard to accept because a lot of times we give our time. It's energy that goes into creating that work. It's our effort into helping others, basically, helping them to see something that they can't, or solving a business problem that people can't see or identify it. So that's basically, in many cases why it's so hard to accept the rejection, So that's why I was just thinking, maybe there's someone who might need to hear these words, someone who might need some encouragement, who might need a way to deal with these things. It's not easy. Everyone deals with rejection in a different way.
I've never thought about it that way. Most times I just think about it this way, that the reason I myself handle rejection that way is because probably I'm attached to my work. I've been doing designs and all the multimedia digital thing for like 10 years plus running now, and I'm like, I can't have all this in quotes years of expertise, and somebody just coming to trample over all my ideas, until I read your article over LinkedIn, and the point I picked, which is very, very crucial, and you still mentioned it now, is that it's because we render help, we show clients what they don't see, and then it gets to us once these things are rejected. And I think that's very, very important to understand, that it's not just the skill, it's not just I can paint, I understand colors, but it's the, I'm rendering you help and you're not seeing it and you're rejecting it. I think I like that reason, as the case may be. So I'll just briefly move to the first question I have for tonight, and the question is simply, why do you think designers find it hard to deal with rejection? Why do they find it hard and difficult to deal with rejections?
I think that's an interesting question, because if you look at it, I'm not sure. There's probably a lot of designers out there that think the same way that I do, but I sometimes get attached to the design that I do. If it's, whether it be a product or an app or a website, for instance. And I was speaking to a friend about this, and he's a developer, and he mentioned to me that a lot of times designers forget that design is subjective and not maths. Like we as designers, we tend to get attached. For us, it's about personal feelings. It's about opinions and taste. And a lot of times we design something that we like, but we forget that when we design something for a client, it's their business that's involved. It's their look and feel. It's their brand. It's their personality. So we need to kind of think less about ourselves and more about how we can best help that client out at the end of the day. So as a young designer, you grow up. For you, it's all about that pixel perfect design, and that this is something that really gets to me as I started this freelance career. Is that now I can't just think about pushing out work. Now I have to think about how can I help a client grow? How can I, at the end of the day, feed my family? Because a lot of times we spend hours and hours and hours on designs at the end of the day just to get shut down because a client is not liking our style or is not liking the direction we are taking.
Yeah, I think we may have some things in common, Robert. Both of us may have some things in common. And you also mentioned something that really relates to me, that I can actually relate to. And one of this is, being familiar with how works are gotten rejected in advertising agencies, right?
Yeah.
And then, once you project a work and you feel, oh, this is the best, as in this is going to fly, this is great, this is this, all you get to is, no, we don't think this is going to work. We don't think this is going to fly. And then because as designers, I think I can relate what you said. A part of us is attached to our work. We get offended, we get angry, we roll back into our shells. For me personally, I don't know for anybody, I am 100% attached to my work, like 100%. So if I project a work and a client, I'm open to critiques, right? But criticism, I'm just trying to get myself open to it now, because people don't understand the difference between critiquing, right, and criticism. So I'm like, you know what? So if somebody criticizes my work, I will just take it as if, okay, this man or this lady meant to critique my work. So I'll just take it as, okay, just meant to critique my work, even though you meant to criticize the work. So I'm so attached to the work to the point that sometimes I'll be like, I'm not going to touch this work again. But because of two things, right? Because of the urge to survive, right? And the urge to satisfy your customers at the end of the day. Because no matter how angry you are, you must satisfy this.
Exactly.
Yeah, you just have to. You have to build the brand for them. So it can just take me 1 or 2 days, to veer off or to fend off the anger, and then come back and say, okay, let me see what this person is talking about. Let me try from his point of view. And you know what? Most times, from the point of view of your clients, most times what they see is what you should have done. Right?
Yeah.
But because of the way we are attached to our ideas, our works, sometimes we get blinded, and then we take the rejection of the project as they don't value my ideas or my help.
I think to a certain extent it's pride as well, man. Because what do you know about design? I'm the designer here.
Yeah.
So we come with that mentality. And we're like, what do you know about design? You just you run your business. You do what you need to do. I do what I need to do, and and that's because a lot of times, and I've noticed that with me personally, sometimes I don't like people critiquing my work, I put up this defense, but what I've learned over the years is that, sometimes when people crit your work, that can help you become a better designer at the end of the day. How else are you going to grow as a designer? Yeah.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you. That's so succinct. That just wraps it up for the first question. As how else would you improve if people don't reject or criticize your work? I think that just puts an end to the whole getting angry about rejection thing for the first question. Then the other question for the second question I have before we go to the bridge, before we go for our break, is how do you feel? Because I need us to get personal right now. I need you to talk more about yourself. I need you to talk more about how you felt or how you used to feel when your works were rejected. So it's like, how do you feel when your works were rejected then? How did you feel then, back then?
So, I mean, like I told you, I was I'm still to a certain extent a very introverted person, and what happens is that you tend to go into this little bubble, and you don't really want anyone around you. It's almost like you feel rejected. You feel like people don't get you, and being someone that grew up in the ghettos and always having to fight to get ahead, and now here's someone standing in the way of you creating one of the most beautiful designs you've ever created, and all of a sudden just like bam. But I was very fortunate to have a lot of great mentors in my life, people who took the time to teach me about design, who took the time to show me various ways and how to think and how to behave, how to deal with these kind of things. Otherwise, I would have just been struggling here on my own. So I mean, it's almost like you feel insecure, man. You feel insecure. It doesn't just affect your work. Sometimes it affects your personal life as well, your family, those around you. So, sometimes, you just need to get out of that space and take a walk around the building. Just go and sit in the sun or something, just to chill. And like you mentioned, you just need to take a day or two, just take your mind off it and then come back and then try and look at it from a different perspective.
Right. That's so how you used to how you felt was just like, in simple words, that people don't understand you and you just want to be alone for a while.
Yeah.
Well, I think we on that part we may not align. I'm more of an extroverted person, right? So if somebody rejects my designs, or my clients reject my designs, I do something. I make sure I talk about it with somebody else. Maybe a designer, maybe a non-designer. I'll just show the person and be like, okay, what do you see about this design? So once the second eye looks at it and says, I think there's something going on here, I'll be like, oh, okay, I think I'm the problem. But if the other person is like, nothing, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And then, and then I begin to react again, all over again, and try to convince the client. And if the client still says, I actually don't want this, then I'd be like, okay, he doesn't want this. I think I should go this direction. So I think that was how I used to feel. That's how I used to feel. But I think your method is quite cool, because you just, cool off, right? You just tend to cool off and check.
Yeah, like you say, everyone is different, obviously. Right now, what I do currently now is the thing that you are doing. I try and bounce off ideas from other people, because as a freelancer, you need to have like this network of freelancers who you can just go to and ask for help or assistance, or just a second eye to see, listen, am I going about these things wrong? Then that's what I do. I have a mentor that I tend to go and ask tough questions to. If there's business questions or things like that I can't answer, I like to go to friends who have been in the industry for many years and who are willing to share their knowledge with you, which is kind of important.
Well, probably I'll just have to make you my mentor because you've been in this industry long before I came. Yeah, probably I'll just make. So we'll talk about that after this podcast. We don't want everybody to hear our discussion.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Man.
So so we'll for now we'll go for a break. We'll go to our bridge. We'll call our bridge the break. We'll call our break the bridge. I mean, where we get to take like some time off and advertise one or two products. But when we are back, we'll talk about the third question. We're going to answer the third question. And everyone listening, you're still listening to Everyone is a Designer by Femola Carrot. And this is the fourth episode. And the topic for this fourth episode is dealing with rejection as a designer. We'll be right back. This is the bridge, and this is where you get to advertise all your products and services on Everyone is a Designer podcast by Femola Carrot. Our vision is to positively impact the world using multimedia to consistently engage the human mind, building a well-taught generation with a mindset that design is life and everyone is a designer. You can also stand a chance of winning one of our well-designed merchandise either by engaging this podcast with questions or contributions, or by sharing on various social media platforms. So, what are you waiting for? Start sharing now.
What does it take to make an average sandwich? Not much. 2 slices of bread, a dash of mayonnaise, maybe tomatoes, How about a great sandwich? Let's see. Ingredients: wheat bread, avocado, carrot, tomatoes, cabbage, lettuce, peanut butter, and chicken. Now that's rich and super healthy. And the best part is, it's so affordable and very available only at jmamas_cafe. Order yours now.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We're back from the bridge, and we are still on the fourth episode of the first season of Everyone is a Designer podcast by Femola Carrot. All right, this fourth episode topic once again is dealing with rejection as a designer. And we have in this episode nobody but Robert Smart, all the way from South Africa. Again, he's a UI UX web designer, and he's been on this for 15 years right now, right, Robert?
More or less, yeah. It's been a very long time.
So thank you for, it's been a very long time. So thank you for honoring our invitation once again. So we've answered 2 questions before the break, which if you've not listened to these answers to the 2 questions, you can just, rewind and go to the answers for the first question, which is why do designers find it hard to deal with rejection, and the other is how do you feel when your works are rejected. We're pointing it directly to Robert this time. So for the third and last question before we call this podcast an episode is, how do you deal with the feeling of rejection? Now pointing directly to you, Robert, how do you deal with the feeling of rejection?
Okay, so it took me quite some time to figure this thing out, and I mean like years, because now you kind of banging your head against the wall here because you can't find solution, or you can't help yourself basically overcome this thing. So first thing, or this is besides what I wrote in that content, is that it's always good to have someone you can speak to, someone who you can who basically, I would advise anyone to get a mentor to basically help them, especially if they are young up and coming designer, because obviously like there's a lot of guys on the internet who are watching these videos from these amazing designers and business people who they use as their mentors, basically indirectly by watching their content. But I'm of this viewpoint where it's probably best to get someone who you can speak to, someone that's been in the industry for many years, and that way you are able to learn. But the way I managed to overcome rejection was, like I mentioned in that content, there were 3 ways. The first one is to try and sell your ideas better to clients, and this is, I had to learn the hard way, because that client last year, he knocked me to the ground. I was stressed out. I felt how can I put I had exactly I had kind of anxiety. I couldn't sleep properly because of it. So the best way is to try and sell your ideas to your clients better. It's always best to try and get them involved from the get-go. Always try and show them your processes every step of the way. Let them see the progress. Let them see what it takes, to get this project off the ground. Get feedback early on, so that way they will appreciate the work that you do. Because a lot of times they think that just by a push of a button that you are able to create. A push of a button, a website pops up. That's how they think.
Yeah, so there's a word they say. They say, it's a phrase. They'll tell you, "Is it not just to?" Right? So once I hear that, like, what do you mean? Is it not just to? So it's not a push of a button. If you're hearing this and you're a client, it's not, design is not a push of a button.
It takes a long process. So number 2 on that list is basically, don't take it personally. And this when I was speaking to a friend and he told me this, I'm like, wow, this actually makes sense, man. Because a lot of times you get yourself, like we were saying, you get so attached to the work that you do. You start taking it personal when someone rejects your work. Don't take it that personal. Use that criticism to improve your work. This is something that I've been doing for many years. Use that criticism. That way you are able to grow much faster as a designer, and that way you are able to offer good and quality work to your clients, and you are able to help them grow as a business as well. And so the last point on that list is basically, always ask yourself, what can I learn from the setback? And this is, a lot of designers don't do this. And I only discovered this now recently, or last year sometime. Ask yourself, what can I learn from the setback? Look at it from a different perspective. What is it that went wrong? Like when I used to work full time, we used to do these retrospectives basically, and we asked ourselves, what went wrong in the project? What can we avoid next time? And that's the same thing you need to ask yourself. And that way you'll grow fast as a designer. You will improve on a day by day, week by week, month by month basis, and you'll get better in your problem solving skills. At the end of the day, when you do designs for clients, it's basically you're trying to solve a problem that they haven't seen yet, and it's your duty as a designer to figure out what that problem is and then to come up with a solution for that problem.
Whoa. those are three punchy points. I think the second point that you said, not to take it personally. People shouldn't get it wrong. That's not to take it personally. So, not taking it personally is, I think, what Robert means is, do not get angry when your works are rejected, but you can take it personally as if it's your project, like you're gonna handle it well. You don't work on a client's project shabbily. So in that light, you can take it personally. But once it comes to your client saying, no, I don't want this, that point, you shouldn't take it personally. You should remember that this job is not for your business, but for your client's business. So, thank you once again, Robert. Thank you once again. I really enjoyed your time around. I really enjoyed you lending us your time for this fourth episode of this first season. And please, would you just tell people conclusively how this thing can be? It can never be avoided. Your works will most times keep getting rejected. So conclusively, can you just weigh in to encourage people that are going through this how they can take a deep breath and make sure things
So obviously you'll sometimes get good clients that is like just a dream to work with, and other times you'll get those clients who will consistently nag about everything. So as a designer, just don't take it personally. What I usually do is just get out, because when you see that email, after you've spoken to them, just go and take a walk, just enjoy the sun. A lot of times that helps out a lot. Just try and switch off for that second or minute or hour and come back with a fresh perspective. It's always good to speak to people, to bounce off ideas from others, because they might see something that you don't. And stay focused, man. Remember, it's not about you. It's about the client and about helping them grow in their business. At the end of the day, you want your, like I always tell friends and whoever I speak to, that it's so easy to create an award-winning design. So easy. But the thing is, if that award-winning design doesn't help your client grow, then what's the use? What's the use? Because at the end of the day, it's about you helping another person be successful, and then in return, they will either refer you to other people, or they will bring in more business for you. And that as a freelancer, that's what you need to look at. So yeah, that's me. If anyone wants to find me, they can find me on LinkedIn, Robert Smart, or on Instagram, I am Robert Smart, or even if they go to my website, iamrobertsmart.com, they can learn more about me. On there, I'm on Dribble, I'm on Beyonce. You can use that same tag handle to get to me. Yeah, this is Robert Smart, and you're listening to Everyone is a Designer podcast by Femo Lakarat.
Thank you very much, Robert. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your time, and we hope to see you in subsequent episodes. Peace out. Stay safe.
Cheers.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for listening to another beautiful episode of Everyone is a Designer podcast by Femola Carrot. I hope you got something from it, because I sure did get something from it. Once again, this is Femola Carrot, and our vision is to positively affect the world with multimedia to consistently engage the human mind, building a well-thought generation with a mindset that design is life and everyone is a designer. You can stand a chance of winning one of our well-designed merchandise, either by engaging this podcast with questions or contributions. or by sharing on various social media platforms. You can also check us out on our website at www.femolacarrot.design. So what are you waiting for? Start sharing, start liking, don't stop listening. See you in the next episode.